All right, as you can see, another dreary rainy day here in Georgia, but that's fine. We're caffeinated and motivated. Did some quality work done on some of these classic trucks. As you can see today, we have in the building the Drama Dually, right? Coming together, looking cool. Also a little small appearance from the Blazer, which is about to go back in timeout because it's really getting on my last nerve again. But today, we're gonna do some exhaust. Now, if you remember, we shortened the chassis on this, so could have just easily shortened the exhaust, but no, that's too easy. I like the snowball rolling downhill effect, and we went from the shorten the exhaust to let's build a full custom exhaust from stainless with stainless headers. Why is that? Because of these crappy manifolds. There's really nothing wrong with manifolds. We're probably not going to get a whole lot of power. I mean, I actually Googled this. It's good for like 20-ish horsepower for a set of headers. I don't know. It just kind of look, we put the new intake carb swap, put some, El Cheapo chrome valve covers. I think some, polished stainless headers will look good. I have a problem. It's fine. But we're going to do this on a budget. We're going to do it cheap. I haven't put a number on it, but whatever. We're going to do it eBay style. We're going to start from the front, work our way to the back. I'll show you what we're going to use and kind of my tentative plan. Who knows what will happen when we actually get in there. So starting from the front, from the engine, picked up these 304 stainless headers. These are what I think they advertise as a mid-length, and we'll put up a little screenshot. These weren't even advertised for a C10 or anything. They just said small block Chevy stainless headers. And I really studied the photos, and I studied the shape of these. They were very similar to the Headmans I have on my grandpa's truck. So I'm pretty confident in these. And I got fingers crossed. Worst case, we can modify on them. We can do something. We can make these work. They were $90-something. They come with these kind of cheesy 3-bolt flanges. We're going to swap those out for some V-bands. So the theory is going to be the headers are going to come down, and we're going to come off of those with 2.5-inch stainless mandrels here. Now these are kits. I believe they were 8-piece kits. Yeah, 8-piece kits. This is 2.5. We got a 3 over there. I'll explain. Comes with 2 45-degree bends, 2 90s, 2 180s, 2 straight sections. Also 304. And we have some 3-inch 304 mandrel bend. Now, just to explain, mandrel bending is where the radius stays pretty consistent. I mean, in theory, if this was a really high dollar piece, this would be absolutely perfect. These are pretty close. You can see there's a little bit of kinking, just a little bit. But these kits are sub $100 a piece, sub $100 for the 8-piece kit. One of these pieces from Vibrant, it's probably like $50. So this works for this truck just fine. So the theory is we're going to come out with the headers, V-bands, 2.5. Now I'll take you back to the fab table and show you the rest of it. These will be the V-bands we use. They're from, let's see, it says it on one of these. Yeah, Black Horse Racing. Found these on eBay. They work pretty well. Key point with these is they have this little lip here that kind of helps lock them in. See, there's a recess on that side. Helps lock them in. And for those that don't know, obviously a V-band, it's got these 2 tapers. They go in this clamp. And when you have more than one hand, there we go. It pinches it together and keeps it from leaking. It's a quick, serviceable way. Don't have to worry about gaskets or leakage, typically. Going to come in the V-bands off the headers, the 2.5-inch pipe. But before we get to the muffler, almost forgot, 2.5-inch bellow style flex pipes. See? Gives you a little bit of movement for the engine. Torque it up when we're turning about 11,000 and, really getting on down the road. These will help keep everything able to move and not crack, in theory. We'll see. Found this guy. This is what referred to as a flow monster. Found this on Summit. Show you the part number here. Was originally looking at Flowmasters because I've done a lot of the MagnaFlows lately and the Flow FX Flowmasters. Kind of wanted that baffled old school 90s sound that I grew up with. Want to try these. Dual 2.5-inch inlet, 3-inch outlet. This takes care of us not having to have a Y pipe. Just 2 in, 1 out. I love the single pipe exhaust sound. It'll be good to go on that section. Then, the problem I've ran into, I've found on this, don't get overwhelmed with this here, is coming over the axle where we notch the rear end. There's right at 3, it's like 3 3/16 between the bottom of the bed and the bump stop. Running a 3-inch pipe over the rear end, if it ever hit the bump, it would hit the exhaust. That's not cool. So our solution is oval exhaust. Now it looks a little crazy if you've never seen this stuff before. A little hard to believe that this is the same diameter as 3-inch pipe. And here's the proof. This is a 3-inch transition. Now I will say that all this came from Summit because it was cheaper than anywhere I could find it. This 3-inch equivalent oval is, I believe, 2.55 inches, which will give us that little extra clearance we need so we don't have to worry about hitting it with the rear end. Comes with, obviously, a cool transition. But the fit up, let's see if we can do this one-handed. The fit up on this stuff is really nice. I believe these were 23-ish. These were 50-something. Can't remember exactly. It's a 45 degree on this plane, or this axis, whatever you want to call it. They make 45s, 90 straights, and then they also make 45, 90 on this plane as well. But just guessing, this is probably what will work for us. We're kind of playing around with some little pie cuts that I accidentally messed up, but they'll still work for us. So we'll be able to sneak these around. You know, will be something like this-ish. Oh, almost. Come on. There we go. Got some cool little pie cuts. Look real neat. I mean, plenty of TIG practice. Oh, and these little guys, these are the header transitions. Those flanges we talked about, they're 3-inch. We're going to cut that collector off, and this is the transition to it. So it'll be, let's see, 3-inch V-band, right there. So then we'll have a joint right at the header. Take these off. Well, that's enough about talking about all the money I spent. Now it's time to actually put everything together. All right, first things first, old manifolds, old exhaust, she's got to go. Went ahead, since I can't do this with one hand, remove this little bracket that went on this exhaust stud here. Now, obviously, the bracket set out here, the new header flange will be up here. We're going to have to make a little spacer, not a big deal. So that guy, removed him. Went ahead and made sure I could crack all the bolts loose here. And luckily enough, one's broke off, so that's going to be fun. Now, just got to remove the rest of the exhaust. And what a coincidence, I have the best exhaust removal tool. Much better. On the floor comparison, log cast iron, it did its job for years. Big tube 304 stainless shorty, much better. Factory thing, factory switchy valve emissions probably thing that I really didn't know which way it went. It's got to go. Don't have to worry about O2s anymore because obvious carbureted, don't need that. 3-inch collectors. Oop. This was 2 1/4, people. Has to be an upgrade. Much better. All right, gonna go for a little rough mock-up. We have an oil pressure sending unit there. That guy's probably gonna have to be moved. And I will say, you either have to be super careful with your plugs or go ahead and take them out because I'm slightly lazy and can't talk. Let's see. Sneak it in there. Real slow. Oh, would you look at that? It goes right, let's shed a little light on the situation, right around the oil pressure center unit. Let's see, it'll live right there-ish. Huh, pretty cool. Looks like the collector goes down to a nice area. Wow, that's pretty good fit up for an eBay header that wasn't even for this specifically. All right, around on the passenger side, we do have dipstick we got to worry about here. We're just going to thread it through the flange. Once again, trying to be careful with our spark plugs and our starter wires. Let's see. Boop. All right. Uh-oh, little hug up. Oh, please. All right, there we go. Just needed my second hand for a minute. And this fits darn close. A little bit off. It's barely, just ever so slightly touching the frame. Don't know, I'm not pinching the wires. They're just in an awkward position. Barely touching the frame. We have the option, we could either massage that tube a little bit or grind the frame back. I mean, it needs maybe 3/16 of an inch. So a little clearance there. And it looks like the collector is pretty close to the trans lines, but I mean, those could be just ever so slightly massaged out of the way. I think, yeah, I think these are good. We'll get these out of here and start on the collectors. Another day in the shop, working on these lovely old trucks. Stayed pretty late last night. Welded up the headers, got the V-bands on them. Played around with the new welder. I got this new Yes welder. Had another one. Worked pretty good. I messed it up, so I went ahead and got the one that'll do aluminum as well. Kind of been playing with it, playing with the settings. As you can see, we're getting it pretty dialed in here. Welded up some little pie guys, you know, and I'm no professional welder, but just a hobbyist. I think that'll do. Looks pretty cool to me. So to recap, we just cut the little bit of the flange. Let's see, hold on. It had, this was on the end with this, right? So this was on the tube. This was the little lip at the end for the old style 3-bolt flange. Just cut that off, slid the V-band up on it, welded it up. Now I will say, be sure to not only put one side of the V-band on and weld it up. It's a higher likelihood of warping these, I know from experience. And also, we talked about these having a little lip. My theory, and I don't know, maybe this is a rule, but it's what I come up with, is I want the V-band this way so that as the exhaust gas flows, it'll come past this lip instead of this way crashing into it, causing, I don't know. I just make it a rule of thumb that the lip always goes that way. Then obviously we have our 3-inch, 2.5-inch reducers here. Yeah, so gonna go ahead and throw these on with some Felpro 1404s, and we're using these because that's what I had on the shelf. So time to install. All right, working on sliding the headers in. A couple little tips here. Comes with these little stainless bolts. I use a little bit of gold anti-seize. Yeah, this stuff right here. Oh man, let me get the label out. Come on, what am I doing? A little copper anti-seize. Put that on the threads. And then the way that these gaskets are made, the ends are slotted. That way you start the 2 end bolts of the header and you just whoop right into place. There you go. A couple other things I like to note. Go ahead and check your motor mounts. These were absolutely smoked in here. I mean, look at that. Look at that. We don't need that anymore. Got some fresh motor mounts. These things are like $10 a piece. So go ahead and check that out. You don't want your engine sagging, build your exhaust, then you change them, then the engine comes up, and then you have a clearance issue somewhere. Go ahead and check that. Obviously, we're being careful with our spark plugs. We can see our fuel lines are a little close. We're gonna have to put a little heat shield on that probably and tuck that over there. Not a big deal. All in all, pretty straightforward. All right, got all the bolts snugged up. Had to redo our little zip tie plug wire things. And down here, you can kind of see Put a little bit of DEI heat cloth on the starter wires. The wires are already a little brittle. Wires are brittle, so went ahead and put a little DEI on those. I actually replaced them first. Last things last, a little WD-40. I like to put just a little bit on the headers before you do the first start. And what this does is it makes everything a nice uniform color. You'll see headers, you know, be like kind of splotchy, or and that's really from your greasy handprints and the oils in your skin, and also the oils on your gloves and stuff. So a little bit of WD-40 kind of levels, evens all that out, and lets them turn a nice gold color. Well, that's if it's running right. So yeah, let's give those a quick little rub down, and now to get up under this thing. Here we are under the truck. Headers on, obviously. V-bands on. Head pipe made. This is the passenger side. Gonna go above the cross member. On these 3/4 tons, the cross member's straight. On the 1/2 ton, it has like one side kicks up, one side kicks down. Can't remember which is which. This makes it a little easier because the pipes can be somewhat equal height, I guess you'd say. That was pretty easy. This one was just a 45-degree bend. I didn't film this. Got in here in the zone, jamming on some music. Just went ahead and made these guys. Driver's side here was a lot trickier. You can see it's above the bottom of the frame, but it had to come down in front of it right here a touch. I don't think this will be any clearance issues. Truck isn't really that low. And the reason this had to stick down, as you can see here, is this pesky little shift linkage right there. And that bar, as you can see, has a pretty big angle on it. And when it swings around, this is in low gear, so it's up with this part of it down, and then it rotates the top of it back around. So just had to give plenty of clearance in this area, but it clears, so we're good. Got nice little welds here. Now I'm going to move backwards, and the next thing we got to do is put some little Flexies in. Here's the little Flexies we're going to use. This is what they call a bellow style. It's got like a little slip inside of it, and as you can see, pretty good bit of movement. Another cool thing is when you put these guys on here, they're a little oversized, so you can get a little bit of angle. Helps you position the next pipe a little better. One on each side. We're keeping these kind of close to the front. From there, now we just work our way back. So prepare yourself for some time lapse of cutting and grinding and welding and busting knuckles and sunburn. Here we go. Last night we stayed pretty late, got the front half of the exhaust done. I say front half to the muffler. Saw all the time lapse there. Turned out pretty sweet, I'll show you. Not really feeling it tonight. I'm probably gonna make like one cut or so. Don't wanna stay real late. I don't know. It's not feeling it tonight. We'll get on it tomorrow. Let me give you a little walkthrough of what we got done, and I'll show you kind of what we're thinking for the rear. Obviously, all this we looked at comes back, little Flexi guy, some V-bands. I like to turn those in kind of a nice manner. Some pretty sweet looking welds. Real happy with this new welder. Little crossover, another Flexi guy, all that. She's good. Now we got to get to the back. Already got the V-band welded on. Obviously it's got to come back, up and over the axle. Well, I mean, it could go out the side, or down, but not on this one. I'm gonna go over the axle, out the back. We'll talk about that in a second. But you can see the frame kicks up here and the muffler's like right at it. So I don't want the pipe hanging down. I want it up a little bit. So I have some 180, 3-inch, this is 3-inch, so 180s, and I'm gonna come out and turn it up, then turn it back this way. So you're gonna run back through here-ish. Then we're gonna transition from round to oval piping, which we've already talked about. I'll show you that. It'll have to come up. And you can see the rear end housing. It slants right there. So we can't come straight there because we're gonna hit that. So it's gonna have to come up, turn, down, and then back across. Obviously that's the hole we had to cut for the fifth wheel that someone welded in. They were nice enough to do that for us. So this brace is pretty much junk anyway. We're gonna come in here and cut this brace just to give us that much more clearance. So you can see right here, I mean, this isn't a lot of room for activities. If we can cut that brace, we can tuck that pipe up just that much closer with some nice hangers. We'll never have to worry about that rubbing or anything funny. And then in the back, in theory, come down oval to round, utilize this in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Where it gets back to here is where it gets a little tricky. Oh man, whew. Gotta watch your feet. So it's gonna come around and around the back of this hanger, and I'm not sure whether to come out the side, the back. Let me grab a pipe and I'll show you. All right, so this is super hard with one hand. You'll just have to kind of follow along with me here. Got a 45, we got a 90. Obviously they're slit fit, so it makes my life a little easier. So what I'm thinking is we'll come down in front of that brace, and then it'll sneak around right here behind this hanger bracket. And we could come straight out the side, so just imagine like a 3-inch pipe, obviously kind of tucked up. And I was in my head, do we come and like angle cut the end of it? Kind of like the factory pipes were a little bit. Or we could also take these same pipes, we could do a 90 around the bracket and then have it dump. Obviously we would cut that a little shorter. We could dump it out right there, that looks pretty neat. Maybe cut back, yeah, here-ish. Or we can add a little extra bend, which is not a big deal, and dump it right at the corner. I don't know. How would you guys do it? Not sure yet. Need to mount the bumper regardless, because if we come out the side, I want proportions to be equal. Like if it comes out, I would like it to be between the fender and the bumper. If it comes out at the corner, I want it there. I don't know. Need to hang the bumper before we figure that out, but yeah, that's the tentative plan. So let's make a few cuts and then get home in a decent hour. This is the cut we just made. Obviously this used to be a U. It used to live, I don't know, somewhere like that. Take those, cut them at a 45. And then I need to go to the store and pick up some more belt sander belts to face these properly. But this will get us well, it'll be just like that. That's the first little jog to come out of the muffler. Now we're just, 100 more cuts and another 10 feet of wasted pipe. All right, some quick tips on dressing these pipes or fitting them. I'm going to walk you through a couple little things. As you saw, we cut the pipes on the chop saw. Not the straightest cuts in the world. One day we'll have us a nice evolution saw or a bandsaw, but for now, we'll work with what we got. And this is more relatable to the people. I mean, you can buy one of those things for $100-something, and this will get you started making some exhaust. With TIG welding, the dressing of the pipe or the fitting of the pipe is so important. It just welds so much better. With MIG, you can get away with a lot more, but I'll show you what I do for this. So we cut the pipe, and we have a 4.5-inch grinder with a flap wheel, and you can run around it like this, and this can just deburr the edges. You can do it on the belt disc combo situation, but I like doing it with this because you can also kind of slightly angle the wheel inside the pipe like that and get the inner burrs off of it. I don't know, works pretty well for me. Once you do that, then you can take and face it off on the belt and get it as flat as possible. Because, for instance, I cut these two pipes and they'll live like this, but you can see that there's a little bit of wiggle, like there's just a little bit of difference in them. So we'll face them off, clean them up, and we'll go around it one more time to get just a little tiny bevel on it, and you'll see how much better it fits. All right, now, oh yeah, look at that. No wiggle, pipes fit perfect. So it's just gonna make it that much easier for you to weld. A little bit of time, a little bit of patience, be good to go. Next thing, we'll clean up, take some acetone, clean these edges that are gonna weld, fire up the welder. All right, now we made it over here to the fab table. Time to get this thing tacked up. A little regular old acetone. A can of this stuff will last you forever if that's all you're doing is just cleaning these joints. Come on, there we go. A little acetone, clean that guy up. Some people don't even do this. And some people I know out there are going to ask why I'm not back purging all this. I think back purging is definitely better, and it definitely has an advantage. I actually have the stuff to do it. But I have two friends that are very, very good fabricators, and both of which tell me that back purging isn't necessary for this. It's kind of a waste of time and gas. So going by the guys that's done this forever, you see how nasty the inside of the pipe is. Always clean that as well, just so it doesn't pull any contamination out. So if those dudes that build $200,000 hot rods don't back purge their exhaust systems, I figure it's probably good enough for me to not have to do it either. This is just a simple Amazon Yes welder. It's called a TIG 205P. It's 450 bucks. It's not that bad to get started in this if you want to do TIG welded exhaust. This all can be done with MIG. This all can be done with regular non-stainless pipe, just mild steel. Obviously, make sure you put this away. Don't want that anywhere near the welder. But I have this stuff, and it's good practice for the future. Get these pipes. It's best to use a lint-free towel, but knock the lint off of those. We'll get that nice butt joint lined up here. There we go. Let the post flow do its job. And there you go, just one little fusion weld. That'll get you started. I'm gonna work my way around, make 3 to 4 little fusion tacks, and then we get to put it on the truck, tack it up to that. All right, coming out of the muffler, you can see our little, gonna zig and zag. Gonna come back. It's gonna go up. And this is our 3-inch round to 3-inch oval conversion. Come right up through here. Now what I did is I taped 4 paint sticks together, and that's gonna get our height. That's gonna give our clearance to the bed floor. And there's be a mount on each side of this crossover section here. So I'm not real worried about it. That'll be plenty. Then we zigged and zagged through there, as you can see. Come around some pie cuts, and we dump back here. And you can see, even with this oval, look at it compared to the bump stop. I mean, it's right there. We're pretty much at the bottom of the notch. So if it hits the bump, we don't have to worry about the exhaust. Comes back down to another V-band. I took a 180 and right off the end of it, just to give a little kick down. It just so happens this has a nice little clearance place right there, whatever you want to call that. Into a 90, right here, a little extension piece, and then back. That's where she's gonna end. Something kinda like that. I think it looks pretty cool. Also, this is another 180 that I don't know, I put the, the saw at 45 degrees, cut that off, bevel the edge, and I think it looks pretty sweet. It's got about a finger's clearance. Once we get all these hangers on here, that should be plenty. So a finger clearance around everything. Just enough where you can tell it's got one. You gotta think, like I'm standing up on a 5-gallon bucket right now, but you know, once you get at ride height, all you'll see is just a little dump. And if I don't like it, I can always just come in here and hand cut it back a little bit. Pretty happy with it. I think that's gonna be the move. Thought about coming down and doing exit here. I've done that before. I don't have a bumper, so I can't really tuck it up under the bumper right now. I think this will be neat. I think this will be cool. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. So time to tack it up, weld it up. Just like that, weld it up, bolt it up, did some hangers. Little whoop, this little guy, little hanger there. We'll work our way to the front. Little hanger there, and one on the muffler. And you can see we just came on out the side. Little, man, almost looks like I know what I'm doing. You know, right there. So, one last look while it's in the air. Check it out. Pretty sweet. Time to lower this thing down and see what it sounds like. All right, dreary day, finished up the dually. You can see on the ground. Let's take a look at the exhaust tip. I think it turned out really cool. Obviously there'll be a bumper on it, so you won't see as much of it from behind, but what you do see of it from behind, I made sure I laid down the best welds I could back here. Turned out pretty cool. Just enough where you can tell that it's got a custom exhaust, but not too in your face. And I like a little bit of tip showing, you know, just the tip. Yeah, usually works out pretty well for me. But it's just as much how it sounds as how it looks. So let's see how it sounds. Exactly how I wanted it to sound. Definitely can tell it has a chambered Flowmaster style exhaust, but you can also tell it's single pipe. It has just a little bit different sound, a little bit different resonance. But we gotta see what the whoop owl sounds like. Yes, loving it, loving it. Now, anytime you build a stainless exhaust, you're gonna get a little bit of smoke from the pipes. What it is the pipes have a little bit of oil all throughout them, so don't be scared if you attempt this yourself, you see a little bit of smoke at first. It's just burning that oil off a couple miles and that'll go away. But all in all, super happy with this one. Way overcomplicated it, but that's how I do. So I'm gonna finish it up next week, get a little more work done to it. And yeah, we're just closing in little by little. So don't forget, like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you.